Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Carmina and Ganesh with our second part of the rectification video. The first part was more theory and we discussed the broad importance of rectification and some challenges that occur. And now in the second part, it's the fun part because we look at charts. So
Yeah.
pay attention. Yes. So do you have
Okay.
something to share?
Yes, I'm going to share my screen and then we can look at the rectification examples. Okay. So
That sounds
let me
perfect.
know if,
I'm gonna post Ganesh's website below his details. You can get in touch with him for
yeah,
education or other less time-consuming readings.
sure. So this is the chart of a person who recently came to me for rectification, and it is fresh in my memory, so I thought I should use that. And before I begin, I want to show the calculations I'm using in Kala. And everyone, I think most of the students on studying Kala, they will use this software. And this is Kala software, and the settings are here, which is basically advanced recommended settings. And I use the Dhruva galactic middle of Mula Ayanamsha, and the Dasha is set to Saura Dasha. And important is also note a true node and calculations for Rahu and Ketu, because sometimes other people may have something different here. Okay, and the house system is Campanus for the Baba Chalita. But then I start with the event itself. So she gave me a list of details of the events, and I have it here. I'm going to go through one of these events in a broad sense, and also we are going to look at it from the transit point of view and see how it lines up. Okay. See, the thing is, if I go to the change birth time tab in Kala and I plug in the time she thought it was there. So currently I have 151.22, and she thought it was 125 to begin with. Okay. So if I put in 125, our ascendant is still Libra, and the rectified time also has ascendant as Libra, but you can see that the cusps are changing somewhere here, and also the Lagna has changed in the D9 chart. More importantly, the window she thought she would, have the birth time was 1 hour. So if I just change 1 hour from 125 roughly, now the Lagna goes into Scorpio. Okay. So now we are talking about two ascendants. Is this person a Libra ascendant or a Scorpio ascendant?
Mhm.
So we have to decide this first before we even begin to look at transits. Otherwise, you will really go crazy by the time you look at transits, because you can make the transits line up with some of the other cusps. Like I said, the second cusp is in the sign of Sagittarius here, and the fifth cusp is in the sign of Jupiter. So Jupiter, because he rules the fifth cusp, can trigger an event related to children for them. But Jupiter is a natural karaka for children. Just because Jupiter is transiting in the sky and hitting somewhere normally to the child planets, he can give children. So now you are in deep confusion. This is why you want to know whether it is Libra ascendant or Scorpio ascendant. So the way I do it is, first I read all the events. Okay. Then I see how well it fits in with Libra or Scorpio ascendant in a broad perspective. Okay. First, before getting started itself, I get a photograph from them. Like I said, this person was one of the example charts in the beginning itself I mentioned, was actually medium build. She was not too tall, neither too short. And this person also had a very pretty face in general. Okay. So now, can Moon in the second house make someone a pretty face person, or Moon in the Lagna can make a person pretty face? Now,
Moon
Saturn is
is in the
also,
second, right?
yeah, Moon is in the second, makes the person have a pretty face.
Yeah.
Then we also have Saturn. If Saturn is on the Lagna, you can already think that there is no chance this person will, normally have a medium build. At least it will be a thin build and a long build. But this person also had the tendency to put on some weight. So Saturn ruled Lagnas, they don't put on weight actually, or Saturn in the ascendant, they don't put on weight so much. There is again some confusion here, because you see, Saturn Moon conjunction, we will talk a lot about that by the time I get there. Saturn Moon conjunction has a tendency to put on weight because of binge eating or depression.
Vata
Okay.
imbalance, something
Sorry?
like Vata imbalance.
Vata imbalance in the body. So now it's again a confusion. You're still not sure whether it is Scorpio or Libra. It's between evenly tied. But then you can be sure on once you go through the events, there will be some broad activation to make it sure. Okay. Then the other interesting thing is this person has lived in a foreign country. Okay, that itself should give you a clue whether the ascendant is a movable ascendant or a fixed ascendant. To move to some other place, normally a foreign place or anywhere else, you need a movable sign in the lagna, or you need the ascendant lord in a movable sign, or the fourth lord in the movable sign. Something like that has to line up. So that is the definitive, clue here to begin with. Okay, so I can, from that point of view, directly start looking what is the reason this person has settled down in a foreign country. That's the first clue I look for. Okay, that's the beginner. Apart from that, this person is a woman and she has a moon in Scorpio. And for a woman, because she has moon in Scorpio, that itself can make her very Scorpionian in her nature. Okay, it doesn't have to be a Libra Lagna. You know what I mean? So she will be resonating with Scorpio energy very heavily because it's a feminine aspect of the moon there. Again, this again will create even more confusion for you. So the only way to start this is to first look at some important events of our life, go through that, and then again verify that with transits and verify that with other systems of astrology. Okay, so let's take directly from the first event she has given itself. So my sister is doing billing and orders in Home Depot. That's what she says. And then father is a retired engineer.
Mars.
He ran, sorry?
Mars.
Mars, exactly. And then he ran gas pipes and neighborhoods where he was working there. Mother used to be a doctor. She was an anesthesiologist working in an hospital. Okay, and she moved to USA in 1999, and then she had to work as a babysitter. Okay, and also, she worked for the elderly people here. Mother suffers depression. Sister as well suffers depression. So this itself has given you a lot of clue already. Okay. One thing I want to say for the audience who are listening is, even if you're not interested in birth time rectification, follow along this tutorial, because you learn a lot about planetary placements. You learn how to make predictions, and you learn about the karakatwas and everything. So it's more like a astrology tutorial, more, even though if it is going to be about birth time rectification. Okay, so now you see,
In reverse.
yeah, exactly, predicting in reverse. So my sister is doing billing in Home Depot. Anything got to do with home related products is the fourth house. Okay, so now we are looking for a connection between our sister and the fourth house. Okay, first, that is the first clue. Second clue we are looking for is she's standing in the till and selling items and making transactions every time with the money. That's one other clue which we have. So starting directly, we can see here, if I change the birth time to what I had rectified, okay, maybe I punch it here, it's much easier. 151:22, this is the birth time which I rectified. You'll see that in the right corner of the screen where I'm pointing the mouse, Sun is the Bhatri Karaka in the chart. Sun shows siblings. Okay. Sun coincidentally also shows elder siblings because he rules the 11th house here. Okay. And look at the Sun. If he is in this placement, Sun is in the 4th house, which is the home. So Sun becomes an indicator of the elder sibling for her, as well as the sibling from the Gemini system. And Sun is in the 4th, making her work with home related products. Saturn, who is the Karaka or the ruler of this house, sorry, not the Karaka, the ruler of this house, is placed in the 2nd house, which is standing in the till and selling and buying items. That is the combination here. Okay. Next, both mother and sister suffer depression. Very straightforward. Saturn Moon conjunction that is taking place here. We can see that she has a depressive tendency. Why do I say this? For example, let's say this person did not know that the birth time was within 1 hour. Maybe she knew it was 3 hours, 4 hours. And by that time, sometimes the moon will go into Sagittarius.
Yes.
And that will make the Jupiter delight the moon. Instead, she has Jupiter with Saturn, moon with Saturn, that will make her go into depression. See how much of dependency is there here between the signs, and see how much of huge difference it can make. One planet can make you exactly opposite polarity, the other will make you feel very sad and bad about yourself. So that is a clue right away. Okay. Then she moved into US. Mother, after she moved into the US, she started working as a doctor. Before she was working as a doctor, then she started working with the children. Okay. Now look at this year. Venus is the Matraputra Karaka in the chart. Okay. So it's a Karaka for the mother as well. And he's also going to show the children. Venus here is conjunct the fifth cusp, working with children, clearly taken care of. Okay. Then mother also moves into the foreign country. Okay, we will come back to foreign country aspect later, but you can already see here that the 12th Lord Mercury is with the planet Venus. 12th house is going away to foreign countries. Okay, and also this conjunction is happening with Mars, who is the 7th Lord, which shows foreign countries. Okay, so just with this combination, you got one prediction right with the mother. But for any sort of influence of foreign places, you need Rahu and Cancer Pada involved. Here, Rahu is in the sign of Cancer and is Rashi aspecting Venus, Mercury, and Mars. Okay, all these 12th, 7th, and Karaka for mother is aspected in the same way. That takes care of it. Okay. For example, if you put Scorpio as the ascendant instead, in the 1 hour window, this will be the 4th house. And mother will no longer be associated with children planet here, or the 5th cusp. So that removes the scope of having Scorpio. So that's how you filter it out. Okay. Then the person themselves has settled down in a foreign country. It's the same combination. Lagna Lord, it's a movable Lagna. If you put Scorpio, they cannot move so much out of their homeland. Movable Lagna, Lagna is with the 7th Lord Mars. Rahu is aspecting, and also Mercury is conjunct that. Okay. Then we can also look at it from the Gemini lens here. In the Gemini lens, you have the Lagna Pada, Libra Pada falling in Gemini here. You can see Gemini is holding Libra Pada. But Virgo Pada, which is the 12th Pada, is falling in the sign of Cancer here. Okay, and Rahu is there. That is the main indicator. Then you can also get this combination if the 4th Pada falls in the sign of Rahu. That way also. So there is multiple permutation and combinations in astrology. So you see, if an astrologer has only one combination in his mind, oh, Rahu has to be in the 7th, Rahu has to be in the 12th to be in a foreign country, Rahu has to be with the Lagna Lord, the Pada is not connecting here. So then you will lose out on this kind of rectification. He doesn't know what he's looking for, or she doesn't know what she's doing, then she can't rectify the chart. Okay, so simple clues we have to use. And this science is not for people who memorize things. This science is for people who are analytical, logical. You have to do it on a different, every chart is different. Everything is going to change on a day-to-day basis here. Okay. Then, see, mother used to be a doctor. That's another very important profession aspect here. To work in medicine industry, okay, anesthesia, I have to be honest here, anesthesiologist, that combination, I don't know how it is because you put people to sleep in that combination. But to be a doctor, you have to have connection to the 12th house, okay, because you're working in hospitals. And here that is Mercury, who is conjunct Venus, the Matraputra Karaka. Okay, that pulls off the doctor combination. Again, moon is the Karaka for the mother. Mars is secondary Karaka for mother because it shows mother in action. Moon particularly shows the mother herself, okay, the qualities. Then you can see that Venus is in Shravana Nakshatra, okay, ruled by the moon, and Mercury is also in Shravana Nakshatra, ruled by the moon, and Mercury having connection to the moon makes the mother get this sort of a profession of, being associated with hospitals. You need a healing combination to be associated with the hospitals, which is moon Mercury conjunctions. Okay. Then another interesting thing is, this is very nice because she also works with elderly people and is an home attendant. Okay. 4th house Yeah, Saturn. Fourth house shows the mother herself.
Mhm.
Okay, Saturn rules that fourth cusp here in this rectified chart, and he's in the second, which is responsibilities towards the people in our family, and here the responsibilities towards elderly people, any disabled people, elderly people, and old people. All of this are Saturnian things, and here Moon is also with Saturn. And normally, when people have this Saturn Moon conjunction, they understand this sort of a pain of difficulty, so they can relate to them. They can help these kind of people out. So that is the reason this combination happens. Okay. Then one other important thing you can look here from this combination itself is this person actually who came to me for the reading, the client herself, is an astrologer, interested person. She's into astrology quite a lot. She knows quite a lot of things, not like someone who just listens to videos or anything, but she can learn and she can make relationships to astrology very clearly. So here you can see Sun is a career planet for her. Okay.
Mhm.
And Sun is with Ketu, that is the planet of astrology. And then she's not counseling people. That's why we don't need Jupiter involved. But she's only interested in astrology. Okay.
Mhm.
For that, you also need connection to the eighth house, which is astrology itself. Sun and Ketu aspect the eighth house directly. More importantly, you see there is a shared Lord conjunction between the Lagna Lord Ketu and the Sun, which is Venus becomes a career planet because he rules the Lagna, and he is sharing the lordship with Ketu and the Sun. Interesting enough, she started astrology practice in the Mercury Dasha. Okay, yeah, that's interesting because Mercury is the planet that is related to ninth and 12th house, and he's conjunct this planet, so he can always give it. And this person herself, she's studying to become a nurse.
Mhm.
Okay, another combination here. Same thing, it pulls off very nicely. Now we are talking a different combination for a person to become a nurse. For nursing related profession, we need Venus connected to the sixth as well as 12th house. Sixth house to deal with disease, 12th house to be in hospitals. And you
Mhm.
see,
Like a nurse.
yeah, Venus and Mercury are conjunct,
Mhm.
and this is the combination for nursing. Then sixth lord Jupiter is in Anuradha nakshatra, and that's not directly conjunct, but I will show this in the D60 chart later. But you will see that she does have a healing combination because both Venus and Mercury are in Moon's nakshatra. Okay, that's one of the things. But now you can go into the Shashti Amsha and already set things in order for it. Okay, with the rectified time, you can verify that Venus is unconscious in this chart, is debilitated in the sign of Virgo, but Venus is also conjunct Ketu. Okay, and the first cusp is falling in this. Now see why Mercury Dasha gives all of this, because Mercury is ruling Venus and Ketu, the planets needed for astrology interest, and Mercury is also aspected by the Moon. Okay, that's another important thing for healing related profession. And then Ketu is conjunct the eighth cusp. This is a clue to put astrology profession. Ketu has to be connected to the eighth cusp.
Mhm.
Okay, then Mercury not only activates astrology but also activates our interest in nursing because he rules all of these planets at the same time. See your foreign settlement yoga as well here,
Mhm.
which is Rahu in the seventh house, conjunction to Rahu. And Moon, when he's conjunct Rahu in the seventh, brings in the Cancer energy as well. Because you need either Moon there or you need connection to Cancer. That's one way to play it. All right. So that's from the profession point of view. Then we can look at the other things here. She has had two surgeries in her life. Okay, which is one to remove this fiber in the breast region of her body, fibroadenoma, that part, and then it reappeared again for her. And the other one was actually a meniscus surgery in the left knee. So for that, we have some clues already to look in the chart. We are looking for some afflictions to the sign of the breast, which is Cancer. Okay,
Mhm.
first thing. And we have Rahu in the sign of Cancer here. Second thing we want to see is afflictions to the moon who rules Cancer is with Saturn. Okay. Then, and I think you have seen the article I wrote about any sort of fibrous, tumorous, those sort of
Mhm. Yes.
things in the body, cancerous. You need associations with the sign of Capricorn. Okay,
Capricorn was
and
his
here she
Chinese.
gets, yeah, Ketu in the sign of Capricorn. Rahu Ketu can do that directly, and then Moon himself in the Gemini technique is in Capricorn for her. Okay, who rules this breast region and is in Capricorn.
Under malefic influence.
Yeah, because it's influenced by Saturn and Rahu, really tough planets in bad dignities. Okay.
Mm.
Then, if you look at the D30 chart, you can already get a clue and put the D30 ascendant into some place now. That Saturn himself is in Capricorn, which is not a bad placement for Saturn, but the fourth cusp is conjunct Rahu and Ketu, and it is ruled by Saturn connecting to Capricorn. You see, fourth cusp is the cusp of breast, and Cancer is the same sign. She does have some difficulties there, but she was able to cure it. You see, it did not become something severe. That's because Saturn is well dignified in this chart. In the D30, the chart of health is at least in his own sign in
Also
Capricorn.
has a good son.
Yeah, she also has a good exalted sun. Those sort of things help. Okay. Then this is just, I'm still talking about broad activation. We have not looked into the actual event of the surgery itself in transits. We will do that. But look at the next surgery thing. She says she has had some left knee problems. Knee is a part of the body that falls in between Aquarius
Capricorn.
and Capricorn. Okay. And to get any sort of surgeries, we are talking about afflictions to the sign of Aquarius. And here you see Mars, who is a Karaka for surgery, is in the sign of Aquarius. This is something which I found. Actually, this is an RD principle. And anywhere Mars is placed can give injuries to that part of the body, and it can also cause surgeries to that part of the body. But Mars has to be afflicted. Here, Mars is afflicted because he's conjunct Mercury, a great enemy. Okay? And the ruler of Mars is also unfortunately starved in a very difficult avastha here. Eighth from Mars can also do the same damage, but eighth from Mars is not so severe for her because it's ruled by a benefic and is with a good benefic supporting him, which is Venus. Okay, Mercury rules it and is conjunct here. That is just a clue. This is still broad activation. We will look at it from the transit point of view later. Okay, then okay, there are some relationship events. One other tendency this person told me was she unfortunately falls in and out of love very much. Okay, she's not consistent in that area of life, and she has had two miscarriages, I think, because of not being able to continue with the pregnancy. That is very good event actually, because the seventh lord in the fifth house unfortunately causes miscarriages in astrology. Okay, and also that's a yoga. Seventh lord in the fifth makes a person either lose the spouse or lose the child. Sometimes both can happen if it is severely hurt. Okay. The trick here is now if it was Scorpio, that would not have happened.
Yes.
You see, if it was Scorpio Lagna, definitely that is ruled out. Now you can be sure by this time frame that you are still talking about Libra. Okay. That's a good clue. And there is another rule in astrology. Even if, say, seventh lord was not in the fifth house, you can still see that there could have been problems because these three planets, Mars, Venus, and Mercury, are child-denying planets in astrology. They do not give children. Even Saturn himself is a child-denying planet who rules that sign. The planets that give children are Sun, Jupiter, and Rahu. These three planets are the only hope here. Okay, and also she herself has told that she falls in and out of love many times because she's not consistent in that. That's another yoga with the seventh lord in the fifth house. Two clues already, two predictions there itself from the same planet. And you saw how it influences our mother, father. We're not talked about the father yet, how it influences our mother, how she settled down in a foreign country, how she has problems in relationships with even having children, those sort of things. Okay. Yet, if this combination was not there and if an astrologer was only looking at Jupiter, he would be confused.
Yes.
Because Jupiter is Karaka for children, is fantastically dignified. Okay, see how planets influence each other. That's very important to connect here. Okay. Then there are overseas travel dates for vacation. We will look at that in transits, not now. But this also meeting some boyfriend events that we will look at in transit. Then I also tend to use the maturation age of planets for broad activation or broad rectification, I would say. Okay. What I mean by that is we know that there are these maturation ages. 15 to 16 is the maturation age of Jupiter, 20 to 21 that of the Sun, 23 to 24 of the Moon, 24 to 25 Venus, 27 to 28 that of Mars, 31 to 32 Mercury, and 35, 36 Saturn, 41 to 42 Rahu, 47, 48 Ketu. This is maturation ages of planets. What if an audience doesn't know that? At that maturation age, there will be significant events related to those planets. And if they're afflicted, it could be bad events. If they're really nicely situated, it would be fantastic events. Okay. So one thing I've learned myself, which I also look at in the cards, maybe you've seen that, is there is a planet who rules certain houses in the chart. Okay. For example, Jupiter for a woman at his maturation age can give events related to relationship. Most often women fall in love during that time at the 15, 16 years. Okay. So Jupiter, if is well dignified, will give a good relationship event. Okay. Then if Jupiter is ruling the third and sixth house for this person, and if there was, let's say, a difficult event because he's a sixth house ruler, we are now talking about a difficult event also manifesting at Jupiter's maturation age. Sorry. Then, say Jupiter is placed in the third house and it gave a short distance journey for them, or if they moved somewhere or they went on a trip or something significant or some skill they learned, for example, then we can say, okay, Jupiter now is in the third house or is conjunct the third cusp. That means Jupiter no longer is conjunct the second cusp and Scorpio is ruled out. Okay, if it was anything got to do with finances, a significant financial boost was there, maybe they started working for the first time at the age of 16, then we can say now Jupiter has given an event related to finances. Okay, then we can push the Lagna to Scorpio. But now we are talking about she had a difficult event, but it was a relationship event in the sense that she ran off with her boyfriend and it was sort of considered a marriage in our country. So that event you can see because Jupiter is pretty strong. It has given a relationship event. Okay. But he also rules the sixth house. The sixth house, whenever it gets activated in astrology, is going to be a tough time for relationships because it is 12th from the seventh house. 12th from the seventh house is running away or, having some difficulties to relationships, some sort of obstacles. You do that because people have not accepted you do. And that's the obstacle on the path, right? So that is the sixth house activation of Jupiter. You can be sure from that. Then June 10th, 2004 was one of the dates she actually immigrated to the USA. And this was a relationship and there was some pregnancy as well. And she had some relationships during that time. You see, Sun actually is the maturation age that time. And see the placement of the Sun. Main event for her is she immigrated to the USA. And Sun is in the fourth house. So it was an event related to housing related matters. If you put Scorpio as the Lagna, Sun becomes the 10th Lord. And that means she has to get an event for career. It was not a career event, it was more of a home event. Sun will also be in the third house, which means it was more of a skill set or something got to do with that. She didn't have that, okay? And you see one other thing here, I've not used the pregnancy part or I've not used the relationship part. That is not seen very strongly, but you can also connect to that. If you see from Venus, Sun rules the seventh house. And that's why there is a relationship event at Sun maturation age. From Mercury, Sun rules the seventh house. Mercury is the Dharakaraka in the chart. From the seventh Lord, Mars himself, Sun rules the seventh house. So you have Sun giving a relationship very strongly. Okay. And also she moved away. For that, we need some connection of the seventh Lord to the seventh of it. And you see that connection also here. Okay. Because it's the same seventh house rulership of the Sun. Finally, you have some other events like relationships at the age of Venus. That is good because you see Venus is pretty nicely situated here in the fifth house and Venus is delighted by Mercury. So Venus has a propensity to give relationships. If you put Scorpio as the Lagna and if Venus is conjunct the fourth cusp, there could be events related to car, vehicles or interior decoration or some skill set, learning to paint, those sort of things. She didn't do that. She had more events of relationships. So that's the reason. Okay. Same way, if you see 27 to 28, she got proposed actually.
Mm.
And it was a very interesting event because it was on exactly on her birthday. We will see that in the transits later. But she got proposed because Mars rules the seventh cusphere. And Mars is delighted by Venus, not in the sense that he's not a friend or anything, but Mars being with Venus, he gets into the relationship more very clearly. Okay, and Mars is the Lagna Lord as well. Same time, she met another person, and there was some events of pregnancy. Again, seventh house, pregnancy. We need that activation. For example, let's say a person had a difficult Mars, okay, and it was in the sign of Sagittarius with Saturn or Rahu. And if they had an accident, then you can be sure, okay, there has to be some connection of accidents to Mars here. And you can place the cusps accordingly. And you can verify the Lagnas also the same way. So that's very useful to see the same way, how you can rectify just from a broad perspective, okay?
Mhm.
Then that's about the maturation ages, because now she's in the Saturn maturation age. She has not had any significant events apart from being a little bit dependent on relationships, because it is activating many planets in her chart, and she's also having a tough time in her emotional life. So that's one reason she came to me for the reading. And I do get a lot of people in the Saturn maturation age, Mars maturation age, Rahu maturation age for readings, because those are sort of my significant planets. They are on the 10th side of my, or the second half of my chart.
Mhm.
That's one reason that is projected to the outer world. So that's another clue for me. And if you get people in those maturation ages, most of the time I don't even have to look at their chart.
Yeah.
If I calculate, if they send me a birth date and I see that, oh, you're 35 years
Oh,
old,
Saturn.
30, Saturn is something is going on there. We have to just start looking from there. Okay, so that's just a brief overview. How you can use broad activation to just verify the lagna. Okay, now we can look into some events. Okay, so far I've shown Gemini techniques, and I've shown other simple techniques of looking at cusps and the houses and all of that. But we can look at the transits itself, and we will look at one of the events, which is green card interview and approval date. For anyone who is residing in the US, for them green card is a big event in their life. Okay, and it is even bigger than even getting the citizenship, because getting the green card means you can stay there for an indefinite amount of time. So many interesting transits are happening in the sky. And first thing, we will just look at it from the dasha point of view. Okay, before, when I didn't know so many techniques, I used to use the Vimshotri dasha to rectify to the 5 levels. But
Mhm.
now I like to use Vimshotri only to the 3 levels, and then I rely on transits to rectify to the minute or rectify to the seconds. So we will look at 3 levels today, otherwise it can get very overwhelming for the audience. Mercury, Ketu, Rahu was the dasha she moved to, sorry, she got the green card. Okay, Mercury, Ketu, and Rahu. We've already should have some clues from that from the beginning itself. You see, Mercury rules the 12th cusphere, settling down in foreign place. Ketu is in the fourth house, got to do something with the event of the housing situation. Rahu is in the 10th house of Cancer because he's activating foreign. You always need Rahu involved. We will see that even today in the transit. So these three planets make perfect sense. Okay. Then another interesting thing to note here is Ketu is conjunct the planet Sun here, and the 11th lord is the sun. Getting a green card is you're gaining something. That's a status. That's 11th house thing also. So I keep repeatedly seeing Rahu crossing the 12th house, Rahu crossing the 4th house, Rahu in the Lagna, Rahu in the 7th to be significant times when these sort of events happen. And also the 11th lord or the moon is involved in these sort of transits in many cases. Okay. So now going back to the transit screen, you'll see that day that Sun in transit is exactly conjunct Saturn. Okay, and Saturn is the fourth lord in a chart, and Sun is the 11th lord conjuncting Saturn. That is a very important event. So now you get a clue here that Sun has to be some very important planet for her in the D60. Again, Ernst actually teaches how to use the Kavedamsha, Akshavedamsha in rectification and then get to the D60. I find that to be extremely overwhelming because people can get easily lost if they're trying to rectify D40, D45 in the beginning. I directly attack the D60 from the front. So if I have the D1 right to some close, broad or coarse time, I then go into the D60 to do the fine tuning with transits. Okay. If I have the D60 right, of course, it means that the D40 and D45 have to line up. Otherwise, you don't have it right. So that's how I do it. In any case, the way I've rectified now is Sun is the 12th lord in the D60. The 12th lord in the D60 is a significant lord because he has the power to activate the D60 chart itself. Okay. He's a very important lord in the D60. Another important thing is, um, in the D60 chart itself, you want to look at the fourth cusp or the 12th cusp, and that is also the sun himself because he rules the 12th cusp. Fourth cusp is ruled by Mercury, and you see that the Mercury is Rashi aspecting Mercury himself in the sky. Okay, that's a transit. But significantly, as I told you, Rahu will be involved, and you see Rahu is within one Navamsha of the fourth cusp here. That gives foreign possibilities to foreign countries here. Then Jupiter is Rashi aspecting Saturn, and Saturn is the fourth cusp lord. So Jupiter has to be an important lord also to some extent here. And to get a citizenship, you also have some sort of a meeting that day. Okay, you're meeting someone, right? You have a meeting to go talk to them and discuss. So we also need the seventh lord involved to that meeting, and seventh lord is also foreign countries. So we need that involved directly. In this person's case, Mars is exactly opposite Venus in the sky. That activates the Lagna and the seventh house in the chart. So if an astrologer was going to predict um, an event of relationship, he would not be wrong because Mars Venus opposition that they can do it. But again, that is why I refrain myself from making generic predictions because it's the dasha that is important. It is what is happening at the finest level that shows what event will come. It's not Jupiter transiting in the seventh, Jupiter transiting in the ninth. Even with this sort of accuracy with the dashas, an astrologer can make a lot of wrong predictions. But you have to use many things for this very reason. Okay. Then there you can see Jupiter Moon is exactly conjunct. There is a trigger transit in the sky with Jupiter Moon conjunction. And we also need Chaturtamsha involved because it's a property related matter. And in that case, Moon is the Lagna Lord and Jupiter is not directly connected to any of the important houses. But the fourth cusp falls in Venus' sign. Okay. And seventh cusp is falling in Saturn's sign. Seventh is again foreign countries in the Chaturtamsha. You do see Sun connecting to Saturn again, the same transit. And Moon Jupiter conjunction pulls it off because Jupiter is important planet in the Shashti Amsha, and Jupiter rules the seventh cusp here. You see, because of that reason, it's a meeting as well as an important event of foreign countries for it. Okay, then one important thing I also want to bring up in the D4, the settlement in foreign countries, we also have to verify in the D4 as a broad activation. Okay, here you see she gets Rahu in the sign of Cancer in the Lagna. Okay, and it's a movable Lagna again. And then the fourth cusp falls in the sign of Libra, which is again a movable sign. She also has to move from one place to another, which means there has to be connections to the eighth house sometimes. And here, not only is the fourth lord in the eighth, which can always make a person move, the 12th cusp lord Mercury is conjunct that, which makes it into foreign places. Okay. And then you see one other interesting thing. Saturn, who rules all these planets and the seventh house of foreign countries in the D4, is with Mars, a significator of property. So Mars is also aspected by Rahu in Rashi aspect. There is a good connection this way. Okay, we don't even need the Cancer Pada now because Rahu in Cancer takes care of it. Yes, straightforward. So that is how you verify D1, D4, and D60 for a single event. Of course, the D45 will be lining up or D40 will be lining up. You can always use it to some extent. You see the fourth lord in the D40 is Mars, and Mars was actually in transit that day was opposing Venus. Yeah. That was the main event here. Okay. So that's broad activation. You saw how transits are used, how we use the Vimshotri Dasha. I didn't show this Mercury Venus part to the fine degree. Of course, this we can check again. It will become too overwhelming, so I avoid to do that. Okay. Then we will take another overseas travel date here. She went on a vacation to Philippines. That day, very clearly, simple transit. 12th Lord Mercury is exactly crossing the 7th house. Okay, 7th house is foreign countries, 12th house is vacations. Venus is the Karaka for vacations, and just a few days before, Venus and Mercury would have been conjunct in the sky. Okay, that's another reason. And here it makes very good sense because Mercury is the Lagna Lord in the D60 as well. And the D60 Lagna Lord, when he's crossing the 7th, he can also give events related to foreign places. Because the first house or the 7th house, it doesn't matter. If you have the 7th Lord transiting the Lagna, you can still go on a trip. If you have the Lagna Lord in the 7th, you can still go on a trip. That's the reason. Okay. Then you see one more interesting trigger transit. 7th Lord Mars is exactly opposite Dharakaraka Mercury and also Venus. Okay. Here, Dharakaraka is not important because it's not a relationship event for her. But 7th Lord Mars being opposite Mercury becomes important because Mercury is the Lagna Lord of D60. And then here you can also see Mercury is opposing Saturn in transit, Rashi aspecting Saturn. And then Mercury is also Rashi aspecting himself and Venus. So Mercury is pulling it off on many levels. Saturn is, having a planetary aspect on Jupiter, and Jupiter is the 3rd and 6th lord, and Jupiter is the 7th lord in the D60 chart. Okay, that is the transit between Saturn to Jupiter. Saturn is important because Saturn rules the 4th cusp for her. Anything got to do with movement, housing situation, Saturn can rule it. Of course, that is one thing, but you can also see Saturn maybe is directly involved in one of the other Varga charts. Maybe just pulling the Aksha Vedamsha here. Okay, here if you see Jupiter is the 7th lord and the 1st lord in the Aksha Vedamsha. That's one of the reason you can see a direct connection to that. Okay. Then the trip happens because Mercury is running, very easy transit, or sorry, very easy to look at from Vimshotri point of view. Mercury rules the 12th Rashi in the Lagna, sorry, in the D1 chart, and also the 9th house. 9th house is distance travels, more like a conference and those sort of things. 12th house is settlement, but still a vacation. Sorry?
Pilgrimage.
Pilgrimage, yeah, those sort of things. But this was more like a vacation, so it's the 9th and 12th house connections. Okay. Ketu again has the same agenda because he's in the 4th. 4th house placement of Ketu can always activate the 7th house because of Bhavat Bhavam. 4th from the 4th is same as the 7th, so that's one reason for Ketu to do that.
Another complication.
Yeah, exactly. Bhavat Bhavam, yeah, good you asked that, yes. 1 second, I just want to bring back this chart here. Then she moved to USA on June 10th, 2004. Okay, and this is very important. First thing we saw from static promise that she had a chance to move to US. Okay, because she had a foreign settlement yoga in the chart. Now we have to see and time when that will happen. That timing is based on transits and dashas. Okay, so now let us look at it. 10th of June 2004. So Saturn, Jupiter was the dasha that gave it. This is very straightforward prediction because Saturn rules the 4th house. Okay, Saturn rules the 12th lord Mercury. Saturn rules the 7th lord Mars to go away to foreign countries. Okay, Jupiter does it because Jupiter is placed 12th from the 4th house. Okay, 12th lord from the 4th house has a significant importance because it can remove you from your current residence. Okay, that's the reason. So Saturn, Jupiter, we saw that. Now we look at it from the transit point of view. In the transit, that day, she has Jupiter in broad activation, activating the 12th house in Gemini principles. Okay, Rahu is trining Jupiter, but its important transit that day is actually this Sun Venus conjunction, okay, because it's closely there and it's also aspecting Jupiter. In the Shashti Amsha, Sun is the 12th lord with the current rectification, and then Jupiter is the 7th cusp lord of foreign travel. Those two things are going on. And also, Venus is important because Venus is the Lagna lord of D1 and is conjunct the 12th cusp lord of D60. Okay, that's the reason. And then Mars is planetary aspecting Mars himself, who is the 7th lord opposite 7th. That is the significant indicator here. All in all, Rahu is needed because without Rahu, you can't do anything. And Rahu and Ketu in transit, they behave like the house lords, basically. So Rahu in Taurus is going to behave like Venus. So Venus is now aspecting Jupiter, who is the 7th lord of D60. And here, Rahu is also going to behave like a foreign Karaka. Okay. One thing I wanted to mention about foreign travel or Rahu Ketu in transit also is whenever you see events line up and Rahu Ketu are there in those events, it is a bigger karmic event for you. Those events you cannot avoid. It is meant to happen, it was bound to happen. All events in astrology, we say the same for that. But when really Rahu Ketu line up, then it is
Fated.
fated, exactly. No scope of anything
I've
else
seen
happening.
that in many of my transits.
Yeah. You and me, quite a lot of transits line up that way. Okay, then, so next event is June 17th, 2013. She travels to Ukraine to meet a guy. See, this is very interesting event because Jupiter is exactly crossing the ninth house that day, ninth cusp. For example, I didn't show this because it will become a long video. If I just change this, I've not rectified it. Let's say I use the time she has given me and punch it in. This is the time she gave me. Now you see the ninth cusp. The ninth cusp has become very far away from Jupiter's transit.
Yes.
So Jupiter would not travel and give the event here. He would have given the event when the ninth cusp is much closer. And now you see how the Shashtiamsha is changing here. Shashtiamsha now is a Libra Lagna, seventh lord is Mars. All the cusps are rapidly changing. Okay, that's why you want to make sure the cusps are lining up. So if she came to me for a reading and I predicted, oh yeah, sure, you will travel when Jupiter is in the ninth, maybe you'll go on a pilgrimage, that would have happened, but it would not have happened at the date I would have predicted because I would have predicted somewhere closer to this window of transit, but it happened when it was here. So it's a wrong prediction, off by a few months actually. In my prediction, I would have been. So this is the wrong time. The wrong time shows Mercury, Venus, Ketu giving the event.
Yes, because
Okay.
Mercury is Dara Karaka, right?
Mercury is the Darakaraka, straightforward. Mercury is the ninth lord for long distance journeys, and Mercury is also the 12th lord. Venus, Karaka for relationships.
And also
Ketu,
foreign boyfriends.
yeah, exactly. Foreign boyfriend, we have to look at it from another point of view. That's a good thing you brought up. Because you see, with the wrong time of birth, she doesn't have so many foreign indicators for boyfriends. Okay. That is not seen directly. Jupiter is the man for the woman. Jupiter is not having any strong Rahu influence in the seventh of him. Here in the D9, there is no Rahu influencing Jupiter. Even Venus is not influenced by Rahu in the seventh from him. However, if you see in the Saptamsha, she has no strong Rahu influence there also. Okay, even the seventh lord is the sun, and sun normally tends to give people from the same country. There is no influence there. Rahu is only seventh from Mars, and Mars is not a significant ruler of any cusp here. He's not an important planet. But yeah, sorry.
It's Haratma Karaka, right?
Yeah, Atmakaraka. In that perspective, she gets that influence, but it's still a wrong window, wrong time, which I've rectified. Maybe let me put it back to what it was.
Yes, 51.
And now you can get some influences of Rahu, I think, in the Saptamsha.
You have to open it again.
Yeah, the seventh cusp is falling in the sign of Mercury. It's actually the same influence, which is Mars being the Atmakaraka and seventh from Mars having Rahu there. I think that's the main influence for foreign spouse. Okay. But if you see, the house cusps in Navamsha changed. In order for the relationship event to happen, now with the correct time, it is actually, we are looking at transit between Venus, Mars, or Mercury. Mercury was the ninth cusp. It was actually a meeting. So it's a ninth cusp event. So we want to see ninth cusp event. But with the wrong time, she gets the ninth cusp in the sign of Mars, and the Lagna Lord in the D9 becomes Jupiter, seventh Lord is Mercury. So just look at the wrong time first.
Yes.
The wrong time, we don't have any connections happening between Jupiter and Mercury at all. You see, Jupiter and Mercury are not directly connected anywhere. And then Mars is also not doing anything that day. So that makes no sense to have the wrong time. Instead, if you change the time, look at the Navamsha year. Now, Venus and Mars are still important because it rules the Lagna and the seventh house. But the ninth cusp is important here now. And that ninth cusp is actually falling in the sign of Mercury. Here you see Mercury is exactly opposing the Sun.
Yes.
Okay, Sun is the natural natural Atmakaraka. He triggers the event. And then Venus, who is the Karaka for the D9 chart, is activated also by aspecting the Sun. Sun, as we saw with the rectified time, was also ruling the 12th cusp in the D60 chart. So the 12th lord of D60 is also activated very strongly. But if the time was wrong, I just want to show that to the audience because they will appreciate the importance of rectification. Otherwise, they may not be able to follow because it's too technical, this part.
This is what astrologers do when they rectify your chart for hours and hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Here, the Lagna has changed now. The Lagna is Libra for her, and the seventh lord is Mars. The 12th cusp still falls in Leo, but you see there is no transit in the sky between Mars and Venus. But with the rectified time, in the Shashtiyamsha, you get Mercury as an important planet, okay? And that is the Lagna Lord of D60 is activating that, and Mercury and Venus are conjunct. So that gives the Lagna Lord of D1 is conjuncting the Lagna Lord of D60, and then Mercury is the Dharakaraka for her. You see the confusion now?
Yes.
Dharakaraka is conjunct Venus, so that itself is enough to give the event, okay? Then uh, another significant event here is Jupiter conjunct the Sun himself. And this is important because Sun is the 12th lord of D60. And when he's crossing the ninth cusp of D1, he can always activate foreign travel. 12th and ninth connections are there. Okay. Then the dasha has changed now because with the rectified time, it is actually Mercury, Sun, Jupiter that gives the event. This makes perfect sense because you see, from D1 point of view, Mercury is the Dharakaraka, which always activates the event. It was the same dasha even if it was the wrong time. But seventh from Mercury is actually the Sun. Seventh from Venus is the Sun. Seventh from Mars is the Sun. The Sun has more probability to give the event. Then, if I punched in another time. This was the time she provided me. And if I look at this time now, it becomes Mercury, Venus, Ketu. Okay, Mercury, Venus, Ketu has very less chance of doing it because Ketu is not so strongly connected. Venus, of course, he can do it, but it was not so strongly connected. Okay, then let's look at another event. This is another interesting event. On her birthday, January 9th, 2010, she was actually proposed to get married. And she said yes, but she was not happy about it. So this is an interesting event here, if you holding everything in life. So that day was a normal birthday. A birthday is nothing but a solar return. So she's having solar return on that day. She's having the birthday. But also she gets proposed. Now it's a Venusian event. And look at the beauty here. Sun, Venus perfectly conjunct in the sky. Yeah, exactly. To the degree, and that gives the event. Now Sun has to be an important lord here, right? So Sun makes sense being the 12th lord of Shashti Amsha with clarity, because this is this is the wrong time. Sorry, let me change the time.
I got goosebumps for nothing.
No, that is still correct. Actually, the transits are going to stay the same. Sun is also going to be the same in the D16
Yeah.
because but importantly, you will see that Rahu was involved in the picture of the proposal. That's the confusion she had. Mercury, Ketu, Jupiter was the time the proposal happened. And Mercury, of course, we saw as an indication for that. He also rules the ninth house. Ninth house is marriage, asking to get married. Ketu has this agenda because Ketu is conjunct Mercury, I think, in the D7. Let me show that. Oh, no, not here. Ketu is conjunct Mars, who is the Atmakaraka, and he is conjunct the 10th cusp. 10th cusp has a 7th house agenda with Bhavat Bhavam, if you see that aspect. And also, one other important thing you can look here is from Navamsha. From Mercury, Ketu is placed in the 5th house, which means 5th from the 5th is the same as the 9th, okay? And then because Mercury rules the 9th cusp in the Navamsha, he always has an agenda for relationships for this person in the entire Mercury Dasha, okay? That's how you confirm. Then, okay, we can look at these miscarriages. This is very interesting events. And then I think that much amount of
Check with the Jaimini technique about children to see like dead children and.
dead children this is the technique I mentioned actually. Mars,
But it
Venus,
can be checked in the 5th house as well, right? In the 5th.
Panchamsha, you mean?
Yes.
Panchamsha, it doesn't show up so clearly sometimes, okay?
Okay.
Because it is already seen in the D1. The yoga is what causes the problems here. But you can see for a difficult childbirth, for example, we can see.
Have an adopted child because she has Mars there.
Yeah, she has Mars there. She can have an adopted child. There's a huge possibility. But if you want to see difficult childbirth, you want to see afflictions to Jupiter in the Saptamsha. Okay? And then Jupiter is pretty nicely situated for her, so that's not a problem. And the 7th Lord Mercury is also pretty decently situated. Okay, that's not an issue here. Mercury is delighted by Venus, but one tough part for Mercury is Mercury is in the 12th house from the ascendant, which can always cause losses. Okay, and that letting go of things. Now that's one other tough thing. The 5th cusp lord is the sun and is influenced by malefics here. If you say Rahu, Mars and Saturn, Rahu, Mars and Ketu are influencing Mercury through Rashi aspects. That's never good for the Putra Karaka to be influenced like that. Okay, then another interesting thing is she gets Parivartan Yoga in the D7 chart. You can also use that. The Parivartan Yogas, you can change signs because of the planets changing signs. So now she has a Dainya Yoga in Parivartan Yoga between the 3rd Lord and the 12th Lord. So this is misery yoga and causes of losses of children in the dynasty. Okay, but if instead the rectified chart or the other chart will show she did not have the Dainya yoga, then it doesn't make sense because she has been having tough time having children. Okay, so this is another thing which you can use in this purpose.
So everything is useful, every information.
Everything is useful. I will show Varshafala before we conclude today, how I use Varshafala for transits. Sorry, Varshafala for
cards maybe a bit.
Cards maybe later. I don't know if it is going to be possible.
Another time, I think.
Yeah, another time. Yeah. Okay. But let us look at this miscarriage event. Before I go to that, I wanted to bring up something else for loss of children. You see, in our chart, for loss of children, there is another yoga also happening. If I put Scorpio as the Lagna, she will have Venus ruling the 7th house here. Okay, and then Mercury ruling the 8th house. Okay, and she gets Venus Mercury conjunction
7th, 8th Lord
in the 4th Lord. 7th and 8th Lord conjunction in the fourth house will not matter if Scorpio was the Lagna. But you see now, if I put Libra as the Lagna, eighth Lord Venus is in the fifth house. Eighth house is the house of death, inconsistencies with children. So she gets both death and inconsistency with her child. There is no life for the child. There is no life because 12th Lord Mercury is also conjunct that. Okay? This is only happening because she has tough yoga for this. These are good planets, Mercury and Venus. And the difficulty comes because Saturn, the ruler, is afflicted. This is a double starvation here. Saturn starves Moon, Moon starves Saturn. And it's always bad for Saturn to be in the sign of Mars. Okay? And then she also gets...
I can relate.
Yes. And she also gets Parivartan Yoga in her chart. So Parivartan Yoga is between the second and fifth house. This is not a bad Parivartan Yoga.
Yes.
But you see, the planets involved are two enemies. One is an enemy, Mars is an enemy to Saturn, and the planets involved are starved. So even though it's a good Parivartan Yoga,
it won't give that much.
Exactly, the quality is pretty bad here. Okay, but that's again useful. If I change the Lagna and then it doesn't line up, then it doesn't make so much sense.
Okay, the first and the fourth Lord, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
Yoga.
Yeah, exactly, Mahayoga. Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, then that was one combination. So you see, just from this triple conjunction of Mars, Venus, and Mercury, you were able to derive 5 predictions. One about children, one about our relationships, mother, our career, and then movement to foreign country, all of that. So that's how you can use, for predictive purposes, you can use the same for rectification purposes. That's the useful thing.
You have to learn a lot of yogas and a lot about the planets, like the Graha Sutras is like basic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Brihat Parashara Shastra has everything about the grahas. I tell every time that if you learn the grahas and if you learn the rashis, you can do tremendous astrology. That's the basics, actually.
Don't skip the basics.
Yeah, never skip the basics. Then one thing to bring up here is this is the Lajita Avashta here.
Yes.
Okay, because the seventh, Mars is with 2 benefic planets in the 5th house. So how is this influencing the person? That we have to also see. One is she has had some difficulties of pregnancies. It has directly manifested in the time of children. So when I was talking to her, she told me that the miscarriages or the abortions were because she was not sure about being with the right kind of person. So that's a bad feeling to have. Losing a baby is not such a nice feeling. That's unfortunate, actually. Then one other event which was interesting in her chart. She actually at the age of 16 she had to run away from the boyfriend with her boyfriend, and leave her house. That event. That is also a tough event. It creates a bit of shame because in normal society, if you see other people are frowning upon you, parents are disappointed by you. So inside on a subconscious level, it's always there. That's another reason. See, why am I bringing this up again and again? Because if you put Scorpio as the Lagna, there is no Lajita Avashta. It's a beautiful Avashta because you have, 3 planets from the angle in the 4th house. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
No issues there. So that's the reason. This is very, very important. Just based on this much, I don't even need transits. Just based on this much, I can rectify the chart.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. Then let me go into this miscarriages because it's very useful date. I'm just looking at this because it's.
Did she? I was reading it. I didn't see the dates of the miscarriage.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Actually, I have it, I think, but it's in another document. But before I go into that, let me show this event. May 26th, 1999, she runs away with the first boyfriend. Okay, that
ran several times.
So this is very clear. Nothing to worry on transit's point of view. You can see, okay, this is very important. I show this because from this people can learn quite a lot. Yes. I'm going to put the wrong birth time first. Wrong birth time, even on that day, the 7th cusp is falling in Aries, okay? Jupiter is the natural Dharakaraka. Jupiter is still aspecting Mars, who is the 7th lord. So it's an event related to relationships. We can see that it's a transit. Okay, and then you have Sun Mercury conjunction in the sky. Mercury we saw as an important planet because it's the Darakaraka. Sun was a significant planet, trigger transit in the sky. Sun was also trining, Tajika trine with Venus. We saw very good transit. Jupiter was also Rashi aspecting Venus. So many events are happening. But many transits are happening that day, and even Venus himself is opposite the Sun. Okay, a lot of things. Very important date. Saturn, Moon, Rahu is when this happens. We will talk a little bit about Saturn, Moon, Rahu for this person. Okay, but if you have the wrong time, the D60 will not make so much sense because between Venus and Mars, nothing is happening that day. Okay, you see, Venus is the Lagna Lord, Mars is the seventh Lord. Even the ninth cusp falls in the sign of Saturn. Saturn himself is just Rashi aspecting Venus and the Sun, not Mars anywhere. Okay,
I have
then
a dove at my window now. It's a good omen.
that's really nice. It's a good omen, you know. So then if you change and put in the right time, which I rectified, if you punch in the right time, now Jupiter is perfectly crossing the seventh house, and then Mars is opposing Jupiter, okay? And then you also get the D60 Lagna perfectly taken care of because Mercury and Jupiter are doing something that day. Also, if you say Mercury and Sun are conjunct, the 12th cusp lord of D60, Mercury is aspecting Venus. Mercury, the Lagna lord of D60, is aspecting Lagna lord of D1. And Venus is also aspecting the Sun. Okay, and this is very clearly taken care of. That Venus is the Karaka for relationships and the D9 chart, and the Lagna lord of D1. Sun is the 12th cusp lord of D60. So this is the reason I rectified it this way. Okay, and if you look for the dasha Saturn, Moon, Jupiter, the reason this happens is because Saturn and Moon are in difficult avastas and they're influencing the seventh house in Rashi aspect. You know, from Jaimini astrology, the planets, wherever they aspect, they will have an agenda for that house in that dasha. Because they are difficult planets, it gives difficulty. Saturn himself, we can see, as a huge agenda for relationships. Okay, no doubt about that. The moon as an agenda for relationships because he rules seventh from the sun. Okay, it's not so straightforward.
And for
But
everyone who knows the moon, it's
yeah,
important in general.
yeah, very important in general. But this is actually the dasha. She makes quite a lot of mistakes. She does have two miscarriages coming up. I will show that events. Not very important thing here. The moon's sign is afflicted because Rahu is in Cancer. Saturn, moon, exactly. And note one more thing. From Jupiter, moon rules the eighth house. Okay, she has miscarriages. Jupiter is the Karaka for children. Eighth house from Jupiter shows the death of the child. And this is the reason she gets difficulties. Because Rahu is there, this is another confusion, and she's not sure whether she will have the baby to keep or not. And then because Saturn, Moon are aspecting that, it's another difficulty. Okay, this if the Tasha was very nice, no problems. The child would have lived and gone on to survive. Okay.
Also the dasha.
Yeah. You wanted to see the Dasha?
Yeah.
So with the rectified time, it is Saturn, Moon, Jupiter. Okay.
Yeah, makes very much sense. Yes.
It makes really clear sense there. Jupiter in transit would have just crossed the seventh cusp. Okay, seventh cusp transit of Jupiter always gives children. It's the time of procreation. But you see, what is the most important transit? Rahu Ketu. This is the most important transit here because Rahu is opposing, Rashi aspecting Venus, and Venus is actually the Putra Karaka in this person's chart. Rahu is Venus Putra Karaka. You see that? Ketu is exactly conjunct Venus. Okay, Ketu behaves like Saturn in this sign, who is the Karaka for death. Okay, that's one thing.
And also secondary Karaka for children.
Yeah, and also secondary Karaka for children. Then you see one more very interesting event. Sun is exactly crossing the fifth cusp. That is why not only did This event makes sense for me. This event makes more sense with the rectified time because in the Saptamsha, Sun rules the fifth cusp. The fifth cusp of Saptamsha crossing the fifth cusp of Lagna activates the Sun and gives an event related to children. Okay. Then Mars is also trining Jupiter. Mars is the seventh lord for Earth, and it's of course a relationship event. And Jupiter is the Karaka for children. That event we can see. Saturn, who is the Karaka for death, is crossing the eighth house, and Saturn is also Rashi aspecting the Sun, fifth cusp lord of D7. I want to bring this up again. If I put a different time here, that was the time they gave me. Sun no longer is the fifth cusp lord here. You see, Mercury is the fifth cusp lord, and Mercury is not doing anything that day. So now you can rule out Mercury as the option of the fifth cusp lord. So you do this many, many times. And when you do that, you get to the final point where, oh yeah, something is really happening. You saw how the cusps are also changing and it is not lining up. So when I put my rectified time, Sun was perfectly crossing the fifth cusp, so I can be sure. And also Sun was just 1 or 2 days back crossing Mars. Okay, Mars is the Karaka for surgeries, and it's very important also in some sense because baby is exiting the body and there will be some operations there going on, or you are visiting hospital, there will be blood, anything going out of that. So that's one reason. Okay, let me put the second pregnancy. It becomes more and more clear now. That is why we need more events. You see, it's the same event. It's the same abortion event, but two events, and it gives more confluence for the same house cusps. June 2000 was the next one. Very clear. Jupiter is the planet who is Karaka for children, exactly crossing the eighth cusp of death. Saturn is hurt, also conjuncting Jupiter, causing death for children. Saturn is the fifth cusp lord and is conjuncting Jupiter, causing death. Venus and Sun are conjunct in the sky. This is a trigger transit. Venus is the eighth cusp lord here for her, and also the Lagna lord for her. Sun is the fifth cusp lord of D7 with the rectified chart. Okay, and then Mercury is also opposing the Sun in this chart. Very important transit because Mercury is the Lagna lord of D60, and then the fifth cusp lord in the D60 is also Mercury. If you see that, Venus is the Putra Karaka in the chart. Venus is conjunct the Sun, the Putra Karaka of D5, D7 chart. So many transits line up that day. Yet it is still Saturn, Mars that does the difficult damage. And Mars is one of the planets that is in the fifth, who is a child-denying planet, who is also forming this Lajita Avashta, unfortunately. Not only is Mars destroying the fifth house, unfortunately, Mars is also in exchange with Saturn. You see why it is an important event in the Dasha point of view. Okay. So, like I said, if the chart was strong, if the static promise was there, you should not have predicted a loss of child. But as an astrologer, there are many levels to prediction. Okay. So, first is they come to you, they want to know if they will have something in their life. They want to know whether you will get married or not. That is the first level of prediction. You can see the chart and say, yes, you can get married. Then is, when will I get married? This is the dynamic promise of the prediction. Okay, that is 33% of your life. You're predicting whether you can do it. Second 33% you can see when you will do it. The last 33% is the most important one, because what will you get from that event? Whether you are happy with that or whether you're fulfilled with that, will that event go on for some time? Will you enjoy that? That is the next 33%. So it's not easy just looking at it. And if she came to me for a reading that time and I told her, yeah, this is going to give you a childbirth, I would not be wrong. I'm still 66% correct. Yeah. Most of the astrologers, they stop at that 63% or that 66% mark. But a good astrologer goes beyond that and he says, yes, you will get pregnant. You will also have some difficulty with having the child. So you can do this now to get better with it. So that's how you have to use astrology. And not many people do this splits in their predictions. And not even the clients understand these three things. Everyone is just interested to come to you and ask, oh, when am I going to get married? And they miss the first two parts itself. Do you have the scope to get married? What will your marriage be like? Nobody is interested. This is the tough thing, when you're well, as a life as an astrologer.
Marriage.
Sorry?
How will you feel in the marriage?
Yeah, exactly. How will you feel? Yeah. So that was my two of the events. Yeah, and last two events I want to show for actually the surgery, and then I think we can conclude. Actually, the surgery event is very interesting because there is a double event in astrology, and that also is going to be an important lesson because of how sometimes in life 2 events, 3 events happen together.
Yes.
We already saw the person, she moved to a foreign place to meet her boyfriend. That was double event.
Yes.
Not only was she meeting someone, she also had a scope to travel to a foreign place. Okay. Now, on one of the surgery events, we can start with that right away. Is no, sorry. One of the times when she actually bought the property, I think February 11th, 2015, date of property purchase, and immediately she also felt very sick and she had some anxiety for some closing of the property or something like that. So she was admitted into the hospital. This event, I was scratching my head because I was sitting there rectifying this chart for 6 hours in a row. And it was 4 a.m. in the morning. I almost had everything lined up. But this event was not lining up for me because Jupiter was getting activated many, many times in that event. I will show now. 11th of February 2015. Okay. It's a property event as well as a sickness event. And now you'll see why it is important. Property event is a Chaturtamsha event. We are looking for transits of Mercury and Mars. Okay. At the same time, she fell sick. So we are still looking at the D30 chart. What I was doing was I didn't read the second part of our document. She said I also went to the hospital that day. I thought that was another event and I left it. So you see that day in transit, Saturn is our fourth cusp lord in the chart. Okay. Saturn is exactly conjunct Jupiter. Then in the Chaturtamsha, we can see that the fourth cusp lord is Venus and the Lagna lord is the moon. Okay. And for closing or purchasing of property, finishing the deals, it's the seventh cusp that comes into play in the Chaturtamsha. Okay. So this is taken care here because you have Saturn conjunct Jupiter, clearly. Seventh cusp of D4 conjuncting Jupiter. Jupiter is important because Jupiter rules the seventh cusp of D60 as well. Okay. Then, few hours before that, if you just go hourly, I want to show that the moon would have been conjunct Saturn in the sky. Okay. Moon is the Lagna lord of D4. So it's a D4 event. Okay. Moon is the Lagna lord. Then Mercury is exactly conjunct Mercury in the sky that day. So it's a Mercury return for her, and she gets that Chaturtamsha going for her. Okay. Yeah. And for this person, Mars is the Atma Karaka.
Yes.
As well as Mars is the Karaka for property. Okay. You see that day, Mars is crossing the sixth cusp. Mars is also trining Moon. Mars trining the Moon is important because Moon is the Lagna lord of D4.
It's also manifesting the moon, right? Because it's its lord.
Sorry?
It's also manifesting the moon because it's its lord.
Yeah, it's its lord, exactly. But it's a good trine, so it gives an event related to property. At the same time, you see something else is happening. Saturn is a karaka for illness and fatalities, right? He's conjunct Jupiter exactly in the sky. And you now look at the D30. Jupiter is the Lagna lord of D30. And this is when it was confirmation for me. And not only that, look at another interesting point. Mercury, sixth cusp lord of D30. The Mercury return gave her both. She also got sick and she got the property related matter. Okay. This is why astrology is very tough. Many things will be happening at the same time.
And especially if you have like 4 planetary conjunctions.
Yeah, exactly. 4 or 5 planetary conjunctions, those sort of things is even tough. One more interesting part to bring here is Venus is trining the sun in the sky that day. It's a very important planet because Venus is the Lagna lord and Venus is also the Matruputra Karaka in the chart. Matruputra Karaka is the fourth Jaimini Karaka. So that gives scope for property related matters. So Venus trining the sun Sun is the 12th lord of Shashtiyamsha for this person. So it's very, always the sun will be involved in many transits for them. Okay. And you see the sickness and illness because of Rahu in the Lagna transit pulling off with Jupiter. That is one thing. The Lagna Lord Venus himself is closely going towards the sixth cusp. In 1 or 2, 3 days, she has a tendency to fall sick. Lagna Lord in the sixth, that itself can do the trigger. Sun himself is the 12th Lord of D60, is conjuncting Mars, the Karaka for property and Atma Karaka as well. Okay, 12th house in the D60 is also going to put you in hospitals. So she went to the hospital because Mars is the Atma Karaka conjunct the Sun. So property event given by Mars, property event given by Sun, sickness event given by Mars, sickness event given by the Sun. So that's how it works. And look at the Dasha. Mercury, Moon, Ketu is the Dasha. Very clear, no questions asked here. Mercury is conjunct Mars, who is the Karaka for property, it gives it. Then Mercury Dasha, always Mercury Dasha, you have to study the Chaturtamsha because it is his chart. You can always activate that, okay? Then Mercury is ruled by the 4th Lord Saturn. Because he's ruled by that planet, he always has that conjunction. You know why? From the card's point of view, Mercury is conjunct the 4th cusp because in the Mooladhara Chakra of Saturn, there is a conjunction of 4th and 5th cusp, and Mercury pulls those cusps together here. Okay. Then Moon, it's very clear because Moon rules the Lagna of D4, so he activates D4 in the Moon Bhukti under Mercury. In the Mercury Dasha, Mercury, Moon, Moon, Mercury are always important because Mercury is the father of, Moon is the father of Mercury. Okay, they will always bring about events in a big way.
So besides Pavam and all the Karakas, now look at the relationships. Yeah.
Exactly. In the Saturn Dasha, Sun Bhukti is very important. In the Sun Dasha, Saturn Bhukti is very important because they are fathers and son as well. Okay. Then look at Ketu. Ketu is always a planet that can give anything got to do with property. For her, it's very clear because Ketu is conjunct the 4th cusp. That's why she gets that. But Ketu shows a fort. A natural Karakatva is also there with Ketu. Castle and fort is seen through Ketu. So we have to always look at him. Okay.
Ketu is like the castle, so the more luxurious version of Mars.
Yeah, the more luxurious version of Mars. But it's, with one thing with Ketu, you have to keep in mind, whatever happens in your Ketu Dasha at the Ketu maturation age is because of your past life, good karma or bad karma. This is one thing. Most of my astrology days in the beginning, I've had such difficulty understanding Rahu Ketu periods, okay? Because I have my Lagna Lord with Rahu. I can tell that today for the audience. But Rahu was my first Dasha as well. And there is a saying that Rahu Dasha, you should not get it in the starting of your life or the end of your life.
I also was born in the Rahu Dasha.
Yeah, you will tend to suffer a lot. For me, I did have difficulties, but I did not suffer because it's under the grace of Jupiter. It's really good placement. And Rahu's Lord is exalted in the D9, so everything works out okay for me. But there were huge lessons. Rahu Dasha becomes hard to predict because the extremities of Rahu is there. It can do anything if it is possible for Rahu to do the chart. But Ketu Dasha, you can also not predict because past life influences will be heavy on that. You can suddenly be a king and go become a pauper in the Ketu Dasha. You can be a pauper and suddenly rise to become a king in the Ketu Dasha. That's how powerful Ketu Dasha is actually. So anytime Ketu brings in something and Ketu brings in property events is all on account of another rule in astrology. Ketu gives the results of Mars. Ketu, Kujavat, Rahu, Sanivat. That's another rule. Okay. So that's the property event which we looked at, and also the hospital event. In last 2 events we will look at it. One is the surgery for fibroadenoma. Okay, and then we will also look at another fibroadenoma surgery, 9th of March 2011. Okay. So that day, you see Saturn is in the Lagna. When Saturn is transiting in the Lagna, we have to be careful with health. We can know that from broad activation. Okay, Jupiter was the Lagna Lord in the D30, and Jupiter is aspecting the moon. Okay, moon in transit is opposite Saturn. This makes it very clear. Most importantly, you see three planets are in the sixth house that day in transit, that time of window in transit. One is the Atmakaraka Mars, natural Atmakaraka Sun, and the other one is Mercury, who was just finished, going over the sixth cusp. Here, Mercury is very important for her because Mercury is the sixth cusp lord in D60. No, Mercury is the Lagna lord of D60, and then he is the sixth cusp lord of D30. Okay, this is Kala's effects, so don't be bothered by that. Sixth cusp lord of D60 is also Mercury. D30 is Mercury. Lagna lord is Jupiter. And you see Mercury crossing over the sixth cusp and also aspecting Jupiter. That was the transit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And here, surgery is an 8th house event. We are looking for 8th house here. So here, Jupiter is the 8th cusp lord and Lagna lord of D30. And on that day, you can see quite a lot of events related to Jupiter happening in the sky. And Mars himself, who is the Karaka for surgery, is in, transit in the 6th house. Moon, wherever is transiting in the sky, will bring focus to that house. So he's also going over the 8th Rashi. That makes sense. Venus, who is the 8th lord, is trining Jupiter, who is the 8th lord of D30. So this also makes perfect sense. The dasha that gave surgery was Mercury, Venus, Mars. Okay, and we can already see that to get a surgery, you have to be in an hospital, which is the 12th house, Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
Then Venus is the Lagna lord, so something got to do with body. Venus is
Eighth Lord,
the
yeah.
8th lord of surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can be sure. Okay, and then the last one was Mars, who is the Karaka for surgery, straightforward. Okay, he is the surgeon himself. But if you change the time, just look at it another point of view. Go back to the unrectified time. She gets Mercury, Venus, Sun.
Sun.
So Sun is not connected at all in any way. So that's the reason you don't want to put Sun in this third position. Okay. So what I'm showing for Vimshotri in the third levels, you can also apply it to the fourth and fifth level. That is another way the audience has to understand that. Okay.
Yes.
So this was the first event, and let me change the time back. So the second one was this meniscus surgery in the left knee.
Mm-hmm.
That event was October 5th, 2012. So this is very clear. This is another clue which I had actually, that Mercury had to be a significant planet connected to the disease or the 8th house in some way. So you perfectly see a Saturn-Mercury conjunction in the Lagna that day. Okay, Saturn activates the D30 chart when he conjuncts this planet, and Mercury for her is the Shashtiyamsha 8th lord as well. You see the Lagna lord and the 8th lord as well. And then Saturn is the 6th cusp lord of disease in the D60 chart. So that conjunction is a trigger transit. Finally, in the D30, we need Jupiter also involved. D30, we see that Jupiter is the Lagna lord, 8th lord, and Mercury is the 6th lord. Okay. Jupiter in transit is not doing much, but it doesn't have to. The reason is because Rahu Ketu are pulling it off, crossing the 8th and 2nd cusp. Okay, and Mars, the surgeon, is also conjunct Rahu in the 2nd house. Okay, that's another thing. Most often, this itself will do it, and sometimes the trick is don't get overwhelmed when the event doesn't line up. The reason is this: some surgery events, marriage events are planned well in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Surgery, the day of planning will be more significant than the actual day of surgery.
But if it's random?
It's random, then it's very important. For example, an accident, we have to definitely look for the day. It was not planned. Okay, so that's another thing. And sometimes, like you just take another 1 or 2, 3 days backward, forward, you can see that some things will line up here. Okay, you see, for example, if I move forward 2 days, Venus is actually trining Saturn and Mercury in the sky, and Venus is the Lagna lord, so he pulls himself up. And if I go backwards a little bit, you'll see some connections happening to Jupiter because, oh, yeah, actually Jupiter is pulled off here. I wanted to show that. I missed it. Sorry. Mars, the surgeon himself, is within 1 Navamsha of Jupiter in transit. I missed that here. You see 28 degrees in Scorpio, while Jupiter is in 2 degrees in Sagittarius. It's very close in sky. You don't have to conjunct them. Just by a planet being in close up approach to a planet can itself trigger it. Okay, that's the other thing. I think that's about it actually, which I wanted to show. And again, this event happens in Mercury, Venus, Mercury, very clearly seen here. Mercury has 12th house agenda. He's with Venus, the 8th lord. Venus has direct 8th house agenda, and Mercury is the same thing. And also in the D360, you have Mercury ruling the 8th cusp and Venus being ruled by Mercury. And Venus is, you see, unfortunately debilitated in her case. And this person has had problems with relationships. So that is another clue. For example, you didn't know the birth time of this person as at all. 5-6 hour window, and Venus was in Leo. But if you put in a few minutes or that, and this way Venus moves into this placement in Virgo, then you can say, okay, if they have relationship problems and with Ketu, then you are already aware, yes, this is a possibility. And the other confluence you get is this person is interested in astrology and the cards. Oh, that is another thing I wanted to bring. Also the cards. So they do the cards of truth as well. So Venus is the Karaka for that. Okay, and that's why I put Venus and Ketu conjunction in the sign of Mercury with the 8th house. And the interesting bit is this: Mercury is the planet for them who gives both the nursing profession as well as the cards and astrology interest. It was Mercury Dasha that activated it for them. Okay, the reason is very simple. Mars cannot do anything for them in this triple planetary conjunction because Mars is hurt by Mercury. He's not a great planet. And the signs of Mars, Saturn Moon conjunction happens there is also pretty weak. Yeah. Venus can do it, but Venus is the 8th lord and the Lagna lord in the 5th. Okay. 8th lord never is an easy lord whenever he gets activated. Among that, it's Mercury who is actually much, much better off in this placement because he's retrograde, one thing, which is always nice. Then he's the 9th lord. 9th lord in the 5th is actually a Raj Yoga. Okay. So that activates for them in a very nice way. And that also makes their path more clear. 9th house is the house of Dharma. So Dharma becomes very clear in the Mercury Dasha. Okay. And of course, that also influenced by, these two planets in the 4th being same Lord conjunction, all of that activates astrology and those interests as well. Okay. Then last bit I wanted to say is this person has not had any financial problems. Okay. That's another clue because she has been significantly well off in her state. And even though you have a star planets in the 2nd house, which is supposed to hurt this house, this is where we have to not jump into conclusions. We have to see that Mars, who is the 2nd lord, is in a trine, a Lakshmi Sthana, which is pretty nice. And then 5th lord is in the 2nd, that's a Raj Yoga. Okay. Then we also have, what is this? The two things between Mercury and Venus. Venus is the Lagna lord, Mercury is the 9th lord. So that also gives significant good things. Jupiter, who is the Karaka for wealth, is very well situated. Okay, maybe she has to put in some effort, but it will happen. Yes, exactly. Then, beautifully, in the Hora, Moon is in own house in Taurus. It takes care of it really nice. The Lagna lord is in the 5th, beautiful. Okay, and then Jupiter is in the 9th, even better placement than the ascendant itself. Yeah, so that's very nice. And another interesting thing I wanted to mention about this person is the people she has dated. I asked her one straightforward question, which also. What did you say?
What they look like?
Yeah, one you can use that. But I asked the profession of the people they have dated. I asked her, were they doing anything got to do with creative arts or entertainment? And that was very clear because Mars was the 7th lord in the 5th, and with Venus and Mercury. So she said, yes, they have been guitarists, music related people. And I said, yeah, it makes perfect sense. So now I have the perfect Lagna here. Exactly. I was so happy by the time I got there. That's the way you verify your rectification.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how you verify what is it. Asking the client questions and confirming that with the Lagna. You asked me why do people have different sort of rectification from
Yes.
different astrologers.
Yes.
I didn't answer that perfectly. I think is there are different controversies with the Ayanamsha. Some people are sidereal astrologers, some are tropical. And then again, not everyone is going to verify the rectified time to the best of their knowledge. Everyone has certain limit in their abilities, a certain maximum of their Mercury, and about how much ever skills they have, they can rectify it. Sometimes even the best of the astrologers, if they are not paying attention, they can easily make mistakes. So that is the reason you have different rectified times from different astrologers. The only way to rectify a chart is to your best of your knowledge is if you learn astrology yourself and keep track of all the events and you do it yourself, so you'll be comfortable with it. Otherwise you can find a really skilled astrologer who is capable of doing it for you, and you be patient and give him all the events or give her the events that she needs, and she does it. So it's doable, but you might have noticed by now that it's a very boring process. So 2 hours into the video and I'm already tired just explaining, and that is, in my opinion, what I explained is just, I would say, 60% of the capability. I can even go more in depth, use other Vargas, D40, D45, and look at the Atma Karaka, the Jaimini Karakas, and even I've not shown how to use the Jaimini Dashas today, and I use even that for rectification. So it's a very laborious process. It's too technical, and this is the reason many astrologers don't even take it up. They say we don't want to do this. It's not meant for us. That's one reason. Okay. So in any case, today now I'm going to show the same chart with 2 or 3 significant events using Varshafala. Okay, one of them is actually moved to a foreign country that we can pretty much see in Varshafala. And again, I'm not going to use the same techniques as what Ernst has taught or the Tajika yogas for Varshafala. That's too involved. I'm going to show a very simple technique here, and I've also planned to teach this sort of technique in Varshafala maybe later sometime. But it's just a very straightforward process using Varshafala. Okay, so let's take the June 10th, 2004, moved to USA, this state. Okay, and with the correct time. I'm not looking at the wrong time here. So in this case, that is 2004. We just go to the Varshafala screen in Kala and then go back. I don't know which year that was for her, so I'm just looking at 2004 now. So it was in the month of June after January, so 21st year. Okay, and here you see it becomes very clear and nice. In Varshafala, the interesting bit is this. I've done some research on that. You can also use the full Rashis, which is the Rashis from the ascendant, or you can use the cusps as well. When it comes to Tajika yogas, okay, between the planets, which is here, planets between Harp, the Ittasala, Ishrafa, all these yogas, I found success with the cusps, okay? And even in the Prashna, I found success with the cusps. But the techniques I'm going to show now is more of a Rashi-based system. It's more like a Jaimini astrology sort of principles for Varshapala. So that is relying on Rashis, okay? And this year, you can straightforward see that Saturn is the 4th lord from the Lagna and is in the sign of Cancer. That is the move to the foreign country. Straightforward, okay? Then Rahu is in the 7th house, and that is going to show foreign transits and foreign travels as well for the person. So this is when she moved to USA. You know why this is important? See the beauty of Varshapala. Munta is Cancer, and Cancer is holding the 4th Rashi Lord. Varshapati is the moon. He's also conjunct the 9th cusp, which shows long distance journeys. Okay, that's the main reason. Still not enough. That's, I'm not satisfied with that level of accuracy.
Can you briefly say what Munta is and Varshapati for those who don't know
Good,
English?
good actually. I should have done that. Thank you for bringing it up. So Munta is a house of focus in Varshapala. Okay, that is in the year. This is Varshapala basically means yearly results. Phala is like results or what you get out of your efforts. Okay, so what we are looking at in Varshafala is actually the solar return chart. Okay, the sun comes back to the same position in that person's chart, and then that's the birthday of the person. So we are studying that basically here. The Munta is like a progressed house focus every year. So next year, Munta will be Leo. Okay, and the Varshapati will change. There is some involved techniques for how you calculate the Varshapati and the Muntapati, and how you calculate the strengths of these planets. These are all techniques which you are better off learning from Ernst or some other teachers who teach Varshaphala. But for us of interest is the Munta, the Varshapati, the planets in the Lagna, planets in the Munta. All these planets become significant planets for the year, and you can make predictions based on that. And Varshaphala is a system of its own. You have the specific dashas for Varshaphala. You can use that for predictions, etc. Okay. Um, the other important aspect of Varshaphala is what we call as Sahams. Is what we are using to divide the Rashis in the Varshaphala chart into particular events or group of things in the person's life. So, for example, we have a Bandhana Saham. Bandhana means imprisonment. And if there is some afflicted planets in the sign of Aquarius for this person, based on some mathematical principles, we get Aquarius as the Bandhana Saham. So if there is some afflicted planets, they can also be jailed that year, for example. Okay. And they have to be connected to the Lagna Lord, the Saham Lord, and also Munta Lord. There has to be aspects, Tajika aspects as well. And then there are some other ways to do it. Okay. So in Preeti, for example, is love, and Aquarius is holding Venus here. This can show that there's a possibility to fall in love this year. Okay. But we have to also study the seventh lord and see if that is significantly important that year. Same way, we have so many sahams for a lot of things like mrityu, paradara, which means adultery. We can also even predict adultery when a person will cheat using Varshaphala. Roga, disease, matri, which is events related to the mother, and so many things like that. There's plenty of sahams in this way, and that is calculated using the Varshaphala chart. I don't want to get into the technical things and bore the audience, but of interest to us is to predict distance travels and foreign travels. We are looking at Paradesha Saha. Paradesha means foreign countries in Sanskrit. And then sea voyage, which is Jalapata, okay, going over the sea. So you can clearly see from this rectified chart, the Paradesha Saha, the distance travels falls in the sign of Cancer, which is holding Saturn, the fourth cusp lord. Interesting enough, Saturn also rules both Venus and the Sun. Sun is the most important planet in the Varshaphala chart because it's his chart. Okay, Venus is the seventh lord here, and he rules Rahu and is placed in Cancer. Venus Rashi aspects Saturn. Rahu Rashi aspects Saturn as well. This is the Jaimini principles which I use in Varshaphala. I've not taught fully how to do that, but people who know Jaimini astrology can follow along with me. Okay. Then the other important thing was Paradesha, we looked at it, and then Jalapata. Going to sort this a bit so that you can easily see. So Jalapata Saham falls in Scorpio. You see that, Carmina?
And I see that. I muted because there's a noise from my processor, so
okay.
But I see everything.
Good. And Scorpio for this person is the ascendant, which is holding Ketu, and Rahu is also influencing this because he's always opposite Ketu. So body moving into sea voyage mode is pretty much seen here. Okay, and the Lagna Lord Mars is also aspected by Venus here. You see, the Lagna Lord is aspected by Venus, who is the seventh Lord. That's another good indicator for seeing some connections to foreign places. So this is based on Jaimini principles. I've not even used the Tajika principles as given by Nilakanta here. Okay. So
because we can interchange principles. I mean, we can combine and mix.
Exactly.
The more we know, the more we can use.
Yeah, that's the beauty of astrology. Good news is for me now, I'm confident of the rectification. You know why? Rahu is conjunct the seventh. Saturn is in the Saham and it's in the Munta. So all of this gives me, oh yes, now I'm very good with what I've found and I can continue to work. Okay. So this is how I verify the rectified time. After I've come to a conclusion, I come back to another techniques I use. I use cards of truth also for this purpose. Today, I may be not able to show that, but
The cards are also similar to Varshapala, but
it's calculated from the Varshapala chart.
yeah.
Exactly. So that's the reason. Okay, but the cards will change. So the cards will be different. So that's the reason we have to look at the cards too. Then let us look at another event for this person, which was let's take surgery. Using
Clear cut indication.
yeah, March 9th, 2011. 2011. Okay, we have to go forward. So look at this very clear event. Lagna is that of Leo, and look at what is happening in the sign of the sixth house that year. Lagna Lord is in the sixth house, conjunct the sixth cusp. Mars, the surgeon, is there. Rahu is there. Rahu Mars conjunction always gives pains, and it's not an easy time. But good news for this person that time is Mars is exalted, so it makes it easy for them to.
So good surgeon.
A good surgeon and get over it. Actually, see that all the principles about who is a good surgeon, whether they can cure it, all of that you can use. Same time, sixth lord is also exalted. Okay, that is Saturn was exalted. So it did not matter to them because it was something they found in the breast. It could have been severe, but they were able to cure it. So this is how you use the quality of the planets for prediction, how good they are placed. And then one other interesting thing is the Mars in this chart is combust also. That's not an easy placement. Okay, so just with this itself, you can say I'm happy. If you're not still happy, look at now what is happening with Jupiter and Moon. Jupiter is the eighth lord in the eighth, shows again surgery for the year coming up. Moon is where the mind is focused in any chart. So that's again focus on some difficulties. Moon particularly in the eighth house doesn't do so well in the Vashapala chart. So that is another principle you can use. Then Moon is the 12th lord of hospitals in this chart. You see, 12th lord of hospitals in the Vashapala chart in the eighth. So all of this gives me another confluence. Okay. Of course, Varshapati, Venus is there. He is very well situated. He is in the fifth and with Mercury. Good news is none of these planets, Venus or Mercury, is combust. So that is pretty nice. At the same time, Venus is Rashi aspecting both Jupiter, the 8th lord, and the Moon, the 12th lord. So when Varshapati gets connected to disease that year, okay? I've not checked the Sahams. I'm going to do it with you today. Let's see if the Sahams are lining up. We are looking for Roha Saham, which is Roga means disease. And here, Roga falls in Aquarius. And look at the beauty. The Munta is Aquarius this year. Okay, even though it is seventh house, but it's still a Saham that is connected to disease.
Yes.
All right. And then I think that is enough with this example. Okay.
You're making me look back into Varshapala more because I mean, since the cards, I haven't really looked into Varshapala, but now I'm like.
That's a good thing. Actually, to be honest with you, these days I'm so occupied with the cards that my opening entrance screen in the Kala is cards. Okay.
Mine too.
So it becomes a tendency to use the cards. Actually, I mean, my favorite systems is Gemini astrology and the cards. So
Me
nothing.
too.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't.
Avashtas. I mean, Jaimini cards and Avashtas.
Yeah,
Have everything.
this is the reason. I told you I don't even need a rectified chart. I can do 10 times better job without the rectified time than people with the rectified time because they don't know many techniques and they don't know how to use what they know also. So that is the reason I'm very confident when it comes to using these techniques which I know. Jaimini Dashas, Jaimini astrology or cards, which is really useful for everything, just to get a window feeling there. That's enough for me. I think that's about it with this chart. We have gone on for long, and I'm sure this person. What did you say?
It was thoroughly covered.
Yeah, it was thoroughly covered. Yeah, so I think that's about it.